Hello everyone, it's me, Bryson P, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be reacting to another video by Vox. It is teaching in the US versus the rest of the world, and based on the description, I believe we're going to be comparing and talking about the rates and hours worked by teachers in countries like Finland, Japan, South Korea. So this is going to be a shorter video. I'm also going to have another video, which there should be a little click box above, and it'll be a longer one, and that'll be about the actual problems with the American education system. So if you want to check that out, you can click above or continue watching this one and then check that one out next. It's going to be a lot longer, but it's going to be also a lot more in depth. So anyways, here we go.
This is Anna. She just graduated from college in the United States. And this is Sophia. She also just graduated from college in Finland.
Okay.
Anna and Sophia both want to be middle school teachers, but it turns out there's a good chance their experiences will be very different. So different that Anna is twice as likely as Sophia to leave teaching for good.
Oh yeah.
That's causing a problem. The supply of new certified teachers in the United States is shrinking, but the number of public school students keeps growing.
Massive teacher shortages.
Warnings about teacher turnover.
Educators call Colorado's teacher shortage a crisis.
So what?
We used to have teachers quit, like for real, in the middle. Like we would get out for, say, fall break, because we would start school in August. We would have a week off in October for fall break, and then we would come back from fall break and we would have a whole new teacher, because that teacher, for whatever reason, has quit over that course of time. And then also we would have one teacher for 30 to 31, 32 kids. Some classes be about 27, but on average was, 27 to 30 kids. 31 maybe at the most, but that was kind of pushing it. So, we would have teachers quit all the time. Throughout my entire, like, kindergarten through 12th grade, man, at least 5 or 6 throughout the year, like, just abruptly quit, and we had to get a whole new teacher. So we would have a substitute for a month or two, or we'd have a substitute for a few weeks, and then we'd have someone else, and then we'd have them for 2 or 3 months, and then we had one that was a substitute for the whole rest of the year. Like for the whole last 6 months of the school year was a whole just substitute, because they didn't want to find somebody, because it wasn't worth the last 6 months of hiring a full-time teacher.
What makes Sophia stay and Anna leave? And how can the United States keep more of its teachers in the classroom? In the US, teachers work about 9.25 hours a day. That's an hour and a half longer than the average for teachers in other countries in the Organization for Economic Development, or OECD for short. That's a group of mostly wealthy countries that economists often compare to one another. Teachers in the US work more than 2.5 hours longer than their colleagues in South Korea, Finland, and Israel. There are some countries with similar teacher work hours to the United States, like New Zealand, Singapore, and the UK. Teachers in Japan, for example, work nearly 2 hours more per day than teachers in the US. But in all of these countries, teaching hours are much lower. Of the 9.25 hours that American teachers work every day, they spend about 5.5 of those hours actually teaching. That's more than the OECD average, and significantly more than teachers in New Zealand, the UK, South Korea, Japan, and Singapore. Teachers in these countries get more time for planning, grading, and collaborating with each other. So, do all those extra teaching hours translate to better results? Students in the US score slightly above the OECD average on the PISA exam, which tests 15-year-olds all over the world in reading, science, and math. But they score lower than students in countries like Finland, South Korea, Japan, and Singapore, where teaching hours are much lower. If we look inside Anna and Sophia's classrooms in the US and Finland, we'd see Anna teaching an hour and a half more per day than Sophia. Anna also spends more time planning lessons, grading students.
I don't even know if this is really accurate, right? Because, so my senior year of high school, I took psychology. I had an elective, right? And so for the last 6 months of my senior year, one of my classes was psychology. And what we did for the entire 6 months, every single year, and this teacher's name was Mr. Kendall, we watched the TV show on A&E called Hoarders, Buried Alive. That's what we watched. And our assignment every day was we had to write down on a piece of paper what the episode was about and what type of mental disorder or what type of psychological disorder or whatever that they could have, or what we think, psychologically could be wrong. Basically, just to prove that we paid attention to the episode. That's what we did every single day for the entire 6 months. We watched a TV show, a reality TV show. So I don't even know that this is even teaching, right? I went to school in Kentucky. I went to a bad school.
Student work and leading extracurricular activities. But those extra hours aren't necessarily reflected in Anna's paycheck. If you compare Sophia to other people in Finland with college degrees, she makes about 98 cents for every dollar that they make. That's on par with the pay ratio between teachers and college graduates in similar countries. But Anna and other American middle school teachers only make about 65 cents for every dollar that their college-educated peers make. Still, as politicians in the U.S. never tire of pointing out, we spend
more per student than almost any country, I think.
Than nearly every other country in the developed world.
But that figure varies a lot by state. New York spends twice as much as California on each student. Mississippi spends less than half as much as Alaska. And American schools generally spend a lot more on security and other non-instructional costs than schools in other countries. Plus, if you look at the share of its national wealth, or GDP, that each country spends on education, you can see there are plenty of countries spending a bigger share than the US. There's one other difference between Anna and Sophia. When they're asked whether people in their country value teachers, 2 out of 3 Finnish teachers say yes. But
Okay, hang on. I'm going to look at something real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did some looking real quick, and this is ranking out of the entire country here, and this is going to be ranked out of 51. And the reason why it's ranked out of 51 is because this is also including the 50 United States, and then you have also 51 being the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., okay? So, out of 51, out of 51 locations, states, whatever you want to call it, Kentucky, which is the state I live in, is ranked 45th as the worst for education system, okay? It is ranked, 45th on the most educated states in the country. So, that's not good. 45th out of 51 is not good.
Just 1 in 3 American teachers agree. There are a lot of reasons why teachers like Anna leave the classroom. But if the US wants to keep more of them around, we might want to take a few pages from Finland's book.
All right. Well, that was teaching in the US versus the rest of the world. And I also want to throw out that my entire high school, I took a lot of art. I'm very much into art, and I have a lot of art that I've won like contests for. As far as in high school, I've entered a lot of art contests, different things. I was on like my photography team, yearbook, everything like that. But anyways, so my art teacher, she was really cool and she was a great teacher, but at the same time, she didn't care like what I did. And I mean, my senior year, I pretty much didn't do anything. So, I was on the yearbook staff for senior year as well, and I just didn't feel like doing it. So, essentially, she told me that I still had to do something. So, as long as I made something and entered something into the quarterly art contest, then I would get a grade. Even though that wasn't my class, I was supposed to be doing the yearbook and working with the yearbook and different events. I didn't. I spent my class time making sculptures and like alligators. I made an alligator out of a Dr. Pepper bottle, paper mache, and a bunch of hot glue. I mean, that's That's what I did in high school. So you want to compare American education there? Yeah, that's what I did. But again, that's my take on it. That's what I did. That's my personal. There's a lot better schools, a lot worse schools. Yeah. So if you're interested in hearing more in-depth stuff and some crazy other stories about school and education system, and also about how I got suspended from school, but yet the kid who was trying to stab another kid with a pair of scissors didn't, you might want to check out the other video. So, all right, that's enough. This was supposed to be a short one, and I've made it into a much longer one than it's supposed to be. So it's me, Bryson P. I hope you have a good day, good night, whatever time it is when you watch this. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, great. If you didn't, that's okay. And I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.